if your next Italian lesson started in a quiet forest with a curious girl and a cozy cottage and 3 unsuspecting bears? Well, today we're diving into the world of Riccioli d'oro e I 3 orsi, the Italian version of Goldilocks and the 3 bears, to boost your Italian grammar and vocabulary in a fun new way. Why fairy tales? Well, they're short, repetitive, and packed with natural Italian. You'll absorb grammar even without realizing it. In today's lesson, you'll learn cute diminutives like
casetta
and
orsetto.
You'll master storytelling tenses like the imperfetto and passato remoto. You'll also pick up idioms like
È sempre la solita zuppa.
But don't worry about taking notes, I've done all the hard work for you. Make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet for this lesson, which includes the story transcript and all the grammar notes that you're about to learn here today. Just click on the link in the description box below this video. Pronti? Iniziamo! Let's get started. Ciao, my name is Michelle, that's Michelle with 1 L, and even though my dad is Italian, I didn't grow up speaking the language. I was named after my nonno, Michele, and learned Italian as an adult. Now I teach thousands of students like you speak Italian with confidence using my unique 80-20 method. For more details about my online self-paced courses, just visit intrepiditalian.com or click on the link in the description below this video. Before jumping straight into the story of Goldilocks in Italian, we're going to review a few key terms that will help you follow along more easily. Starting with
C'era una volta.
Now this means once upon a time. Now this classic phrase is used to begin many stories in Italian, setting the stage for the adventure to come. The next one is
Riccioli d'oro.
Literally, golden curls. This is the name of the little girl in the story, and it's a common expression to describe someone with blonde locks in Italian. The next term is
Bosco.
Meaning woods or forest. Now, beyond referring to a natural setting, in Italian, this word features in idioms such as
Uccel di bosco.
Literally, bird of the woods, which describes someone who is elusive or hard to catch. It also features in the proverb
Portare legna al bosco.
to bring wood to the woods, which refers to doing something unnecessary or redundant. The next term to look out for is
Orso.
bear. Now, while it primarily refers to the animal, this word is also used humorously to describe someone who is big, rough, grumpy, or a bit unsociable, like calling someone a big old bear in English. The next term is
Zuppa.
soup, but this word goes far beyond the comforting warm dish that features in the story. On Italian dessert menus, you'll often find zuppa inglese, a delicious trifle-like treat. You can also hear this term used in popular everyday expressions such as
È sempre la solita zuppa.
it's always the same old story, or the expression
Se non è zuppa, è pan bagnato.
literally, if it's not soup, it's soggy bread, which is used to say that 2 things are basically the same. The next term to look out for is
Sedia.
chair. In everyday Italian, this word features in the expression
Scaldare la sedia.
literally to warm the chair, often used by teachers to describe someone who is physically present but not actively participating or contributing. In casual settings, Italians also say,
Prendi una sedia.
or you might hear,
Prendete una sedia.
this literally means grab a chair, and it's used to invite someone to sit down and join them. The next term to look out for is
Letto.
bed. When reading and listening in Italian, you'll often encounter this word in a variety of expressions beyond just those related to the piece of furniture. For example, you'll hear
Letto del fiume.
this translates to riverbed. We also have the phrase
Andare a letto con le galline.
to go to bed with the chickens, humorously referring to going to sleep very early. On a spicier note, we have
Amici di letto.
This refers to friends with benefits. And then we have
Andare a letto con qualcuno.
Means to sleep with someone in a romantic or sexual sense. You might also come across
Figlio di primo letto.
describing a child from a previous marriage. The next term to look out for is
Curiosità.
curiosity, nosiness. Now, this can also refer to a strange or a rare thing or a fun fact. Common phrases include
Per curiosità.
out of curiosity,
Stuzzicare la curiosità.
to spark curiosity, and
Togliersi una curiosità.
to satisfy one's curiosity. And a typical question you'll hear is,
Mi togli una curiosità?
can I ask you something out of curiosity? Now that you have an idea of the key terms of the story, let's jump right in with chapter 1. Andiamo!
Capitolo 1. Riccioli d'oro si perde nel bosco. C'era una volta una bambina dal nome curioso, Riccioli d'oro, chiamata così per i suoi splendidi capelli biondi e ricci. Un giorno, mentre passeggiava nel bosco, si allontanò dal sentiero e si ritrovò davanti a una piccola casetta. La porta era socchiusa e, spinta dalla curiosità, Riccioli d'oro decise di entrare. Quella era la casa di 3 orsi: papà orso, grande e robusto, mamma orsa, di media statura e molto gentile, e il piccolo orsetto, allegro e vivace. Gli orsi erano usciti a fare una passeggiata mentre aspettavano che la colazione si raffreddasse.
Now, the story opens with the phrase that we heard at the beginning, which is
C'era una volta.
once upon a time, the classic phrase that instantly marks the story as a fairy tale. The use of the imperfect tense, era, meaning was, is typical in Italian storytelling to paint the setting and provide context in an undefined past, giving the narration a dreamlike atmosphere. Then we're introduced to our little girl,
Riccioli d'oro.
Goldilocks, so named for her beautifully curly blonde hair. Her walk through the woods is described with the verb
Passeggiava.
was walking, another example of the imperfect tense used to set the scene. Now, the narrative then shifts to 2 reflexive verbs in the passato remoto, the remote past. We have
Si allontanò.
she wandered off and
Si ritrovò.
she found herself. These verbs mark a change in action. Goldilocks is no longer just walking, she has now strayed from the path and arrived at a new place. The passato remoto is typical in written stories to mark completed, significant actions that move the plot forward. Now, to learn more about how and when to use the passato remoto, make sure you watch my Italian lesson right here. Are you enjoying this lesson so far? Make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet, which you'll find all the grammar notes and story transcript. Just click on the link in the description below this video. The next thing that happens in the story is Goldilocks comes across
Una piccola casetta.
a small little house. The word
Casetta.
is a diminutive form of casa, house, created by adding the suffix etta, and it gives the sentence a cozy feel. Now, this use of diminutives is common to add affection or emphasize a small size. Later we encounter
Orsetto.
little bear, a diminutive of orso, meaning bear, which serves the same purpose, making the characters more adorable. The house belongs to
3 orsi.
3 bears, each with a distinct description. Papa Bear is
Grande e robusto.
big and strong. Mama Bear is
Di media statura e molto gentile.
of average height and very kind. And then Baby Bear is
Allegro e vivace.
cheerful and lively. The phrase di media statura is worth noting. Statura refers to stature, and while altezza for height is more commonly used, statura can also have a formal or even figurative meaning, as in
una persona di grande statura morale.
a person of great moral stature. Now let's move on to chapter 2. Take a look.
Capitolo 2. La zuppa degli orsi. Appena entrata, Riccioli d'Oro sentì un profumo delizioso. Sul tavolo c'erano 3 ciotole di zuppa, una grande, una media e una piccola. Affamata, la bambina assaggiò la zuppa dalla ciotola grande di papà orso.
Aia, è troppo calda!
Esclamò. Poi provò la ciotola di mamma orsa.
Oh no, è troppo fredda!
Infine assaggiò la zuppa dalla ciotola piccola di orsetto.
Perfetta! Né troppo calda né troppo fredda!
Disse felice e mangiò tutta la zuppa.
Now, the second chapter opens with a sensory detail that anchors the reader in the scene.
Riccioli d'Oro sentì un profumo delizioso.
Goldilocks smelled a delicious scent. The word profumo means both scent and aroma, but also the perfume that we wear. The verb sentì, she smelled, is once again in the passato remoto, signaling an important moment as she steps inside the bear's house. In contrast, the background is described using the imperfetto, such as
Sul tavolo c'erano 3 ciotole di zuppa.
on the table there were 3 bowls of soup. This blend of imperfetto and passato remoto is a key feature of Italian narrative style. The former sets the scene, the latter advances the plot. Now, to learn more about how and when to use the imperfetto in Italian, make sure you watch my video lesson right here. Now, as Riccioli d'Oro explores the 3 bowls of soup, we see a repeated structure that's central to this fairy tale. We have
Una grande, una media e una piccola.
1 large, 1 medium, and 1 small. This trio of adjectives is not just a storytelling device, it reflects a broader pattern in the Italian language and culture, such as
Piccole, medie e grandi imprese.
small, medium, and large businesses, or
Una coppetta piccola, media o grande.
a small, medium, or large cup when buying a gelato. Now, this little girl is hungry and can't resist tasting the soup. This scene is expressed with
Affamata, la bambina assaggiò.
hungry, the little girl tasted, which is interesting for its word order. Here, the adjective affamata, hungry, is placed before the subject and the verb to emphasize her emotional state and create a more vivid image. This kind of inversion is common in literary Italian and adds expressive nuance. As she tastes each bowl, Riccioli d'Oro reacts with expressive interjections, including
Aia!
ouch when the soup is too hot, and
Oh no!
this is the same as in English, but pronounced with Italian intonation, and she says this when it's too cold. Now, these are classic Italian exclamations, commonly used in everyday speech to express pain or disappointment. When she finally finds the perfect soup, she says,
Perfetta! Né troppo calda né troppo fredda.
perfect, neither too hot nor too cold. This is a great example of the conjunction ne, neither nor, a common way to join negative elements in Italian. Note the accent on ne. Without it, ne means something entirely different, like of it or about it. Lastly, let's look at the word
Ciotola.
bowl, the word used to contain the soup. It's a simple but practical noun that's especially useful to know if you ever find yourself cooking or dining in an Italian kitchen. Are you enjoying this lesson? Want to learn more? This video is part of my Italian fairy tale series, including Pinocchio, Biancaneve, Riccioli d'Oro, and Cappuccetto Rosso. If you want to watch them all, make sure you click on this playlist right here. Now let's move on to chapter 3. Take a look.
Capitolo 3. Le sedie degli orsi. Dopo aver mangiato, Riccioli d'Oro vide 3 sedie, una grande, una media e una piccola. Si sedette sulla sedia grande di papà orso, ma era troppo dura. Provò la sedia di mamma orsa, ma era troppo morbida. Quando si sedette sulla sedia piccola di Orsetto, la trovò comodissima,
Questa è perfetta!
disse, ma appena si mise comoda, la sedia si ruppe sotto il suo peso e cadde a terra.
This chapter begins with a useful time expression.
Dopo aver mangiato.
After having eaten. The word dopo, after, is a time adverb that can be followed by a noun like
Dopo cena.
after dinner, by che plus a verb, such as
Dopo che ha mangiato.
after he or she ate, or as in this case, by a compound infinitive.
Dopo aver mangiato.
Notice here that it's aver mangiato, not avere mangiato. This is an example of troncamento, truncation, a common feature in Italian, especially in spoken language, where the final vowel of a word is dropped for smoother pronunciation. Now, while avere mangiato is grammatically correct, aver mangiato flows more easily. Try saying this yourself out loud and you'll feel the difference. This kind of truncation often appears with modal verbs followed by infinitives, such as
Poter dire.
to be able to say, or
Dover andare.
to have to go. Once again, we encounter the trio of adjectives.
Una sedia grande, una media e una piccola.
A large chair, a medium one, and a small one, which echoes the scene from earlier with the soup. One particularly expressive word appears when she tries Orsetto's chair.
Comodissima.
Very comfortable. This is an absolute superlative formed by taking the adjective comoda, comfortable, and adding the suffix issima. It's a common way to intensify the meaning, just like buonissima, delicious, velocissimo, super fast, or stanchissima, very tired or exhausted. To learn the most common adjectives in Italian, make sure you watch my video lesson right here. Now, once again, she found the right chair, Riccioli d'Oro.
Si mise comoda.
She made herself comfortable. This is the passato remoto of the reflexive verb mettersi comoda, and it's an expression commonly used when welcoming guests into your home. You might say,
Mettiti comodo.
make yourself comfortable, or,
Mettetevi comodi.
and you say this when speaking to more than one person. But her comfort is short-lived. The chair
Si ruppe sotto il suo peso.
broke under her weight. Peso is a nice word to memorize because it appears in many idiomatic expressions, such as
Pagare a peso d'oro.
to pay a fortune,
Dare il giusto peso.
to give something the proper importance,
Essere un peso per qualcuno.
to be a burden to someone, or
Togliersi un peso dallo stomaco, dal cuore.
to get something off your chest. Are you enjoying this lesson? Don't let the learning stop here. Make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet, which includes all the grammar notes and story transcript from today's lesson. Just click on the link in the description below this video. Moving on to chapter 4. Take a look.
Capitolo 4. I letti degli orsi. Un po' stanca dopo tutte quelle avventure, Riccioli d'Oro salì al piano di sopra e trovò 3 letti, uno grande, uno medio e uno piccolo. Provò a sdraiarsi sul letto grande di papà orso, ma era troppo duro. Provò quello di mamma orsa, ma era troppo morbido. Infine si sdraiò sul lettino di Orsetto e sorrise.
È perfetto!
Disse e si addormentò profondamente.
Chapter 4 brings another everyday household word to light. It is
Il letto.
the bed, which becomes the focus of Riccioli d'Oro's next discovery. Along with it, we're introduced to the reflexive verb
Sdraiarsi.
to lie down, used here in
Si sdraiò sul letto.
she laid down on the bed. Now, reflexive verbs like this are especially common when talking about daily routines. We also come across 2 useful adjectives,
Duro.
hard and
Morbido.
soft. These are generally both used to describe textures and comfort levels, particularly when referring to beds, cushions, or food. For example, you might say,
Questa bistecca è dura.
this steak is hard, or
Un divano morbido.
a soft couch. Now, at the beginning of the chapter, the phrase
Un po' stanca.
a bit tired deserves special attention. Un po' is a shortened form of un poco, a little, meaning a little or a bit. It's important to write po with an apostrophe, not with an accent, which is incorrect. Technically, you could also say un poco stanca, but it sounds heavier and more formal, whereas un po' stanca flows naturally and mirrors how Italians speak every day. When Riccioli d'Oro tries the smallest bed, we encounter another affectionate diminutive,
Lettino.
little bed, formed by adding the suffix ino to letto, bed. Now this bed turns out to be
Perfetto.
perfect, and the little girl
Si addormentò profondamente.
fell asleep deeply. The adverb profondamente comes from profondo, deep, and is a nice example of how Italian uses the suffix mente to turn adjectives into adverbs, just like English adds ly to deep to become deeply. We have profondo becomes profondamente. Moving on to chapter 5. Take a look.
Capitolo 5. Il ritorno dei 3 orsi. Poco dopo, i 3 orsi tornarono a casa. Appena entrarono, papà orso guardò la sua ciotola e ringhiò.
Qualcuno ha mangiato la mia zuppa.
Mamma orsa disse.
Qualcuno ha assaggiato anche la mia zuppa.
E il piccolo orsetto esclamò.
Qualcuno ha mangiato tutta la mia zuppa.
Poi si avvicinarono alle sedie. Papà orso brontolò.
Qualcuno si è seduto sulla mia sedia.
Mamma orsa disse.
Qualcuno si è seduto anche sulla mia sedia.
E orsetto gridò.
Qualcuno ha rotto la mia sedia.
Salendo al piano di sopra, gli orsi controllarono i letti. Papà orso disse.
Qualcuno si è sdraiato sul mio letto.
Mamma orsa disse.
Qualcuno ha provato anche il mio letto.
Ma fu orsetto a fare la scoperta più grande.
Qualcuno sta dormendo nel mio letto.
Now, as the bear family returns home and notices signs of an intruder, each bear repeatedly refers to the mysterious visitor using the word
qualcuno.
someone. This is an indefinite pronoun used to refer to an unspecified person, and is typically used when you don't know or need to mention exactly who you're talking about. Now, although qualcuno is masculine in form, it can refer to a person of any gender. There is a feminine variant, qualcuna, but it's rarely used unless the gender of the person is emphasized. Interestingly, even in idiomatic expressions, the masculine form is used regardless of the gender, with phrases like
Diventare qualcuno.
to become someone, in other words, to make something of yourself, or
Essere qualcuno.
to be someone important, retaining that masculine structure. Now, this chapter also gives us a clear and useful look at the contrast between the passato remoto and passato prossimo. The passato remoto, as we learned earlier, is used for the bear's own actions, marking key events in the storyline. For example,
Papà orso guardò.
Papa Bear looked,
Mamma orsa disse.
Mama Bear said,
Orsetto gridò.
Baby Bear shouted. In contrast, the actions attributed to the intruder are expressed in the passato prossimo because they feel recent and still relevant, such as
Qualcuno ha mangiato.
someone ate,
Qualcuno ha rotto.
someone broke,
Qualcuno si è sdraiato.
someone laid down. Now let's move on to chapter 6. Take a look.
Capitolo 6. La fuga di Riccioli d'oro. Al sentir le voci degli orsi, Riccioli d'oro si svegliò di soprassalto. Quando vide i 3 orsi accanto al letto, si spaventò moltissimo. Saltò giù dal letto e corse veloce giù per le scale. Uscì dalla casa e fuggì via nel bosco, senza mai voltarsi indietro. Da quel giorno Riccioli d'oro imparò a non entrare mai più nelle case altrui, senza essere invitata, e a non lasciarsi guidare troppo dalla curiosità. Gli orsi, invece, aggiustarono la sedia di Orsetto, prepararono altra zuppa e vissero tranquilli nella loro casetta nel bosco.
Now, this final chapter brings us to the end of the story with a few great expressions commonly used in Italian. We begin with
Si svegliò di soprassalto.
she woke up with a start, which is often used when someone is suddenly awakened by a noise, a fear, or a realization. Next, we see
Saltò giù dal letto.
she jumped out of the bed, another phrase that captures quick, instinctive movement. This structure, saltare giù da, to jump down from, can easily be used in other contexts, like
Saltare giù dalla sedia.
to jump off the chair, which is said figuratively when someone is startled or reacts energetically to news or a sudden event. Then comes a beautifully figurative phrase,
Senza mai voltarsi indietro.
without ever looking back. While used literally in this story, it's also widely used in a metaphorical sense to describe leaving something behind or moving on from a phase, a place, or a mistake. For example,
Stefano si è licenziato e non si è mai voltato indietro.
Stefano quit his job and never looked back. So what did Riccioli d'Oro learn from her adventure?
A non entrare mai più nelle case altrui senza essere invitata.
Never again to enter someone else's home without being invited. Now, one word in this sentence that's especially worth noting is altrui. It's an indefinite possessive adjective that means belonging to others or other peoples. It's rather formal and typically appears in written Italian. In spoken Italian, a more common alternative would be
degli altri.
which is simpler and more casual. For example,
È importante rispettare le opinioni altrui. Degli altri.
it's important to respect other people's opinions. Now, even though both forms are grammatically correct, choosing between altrui and degli altri depends on context, tone, and how formal you want to sound. Did you enjoy this story? Well, this video is part of my Italian fairy tale series, including Pinocchio, Biancaneve, Riccioli d'Oro, and Cappuccetto Rosso. You can watch them all just by clicking on this playlist right here. And to continue your learning and to help you practice everything that you've learned here today, make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet for this lesson, which includes the story transcript and grammar notes. Just click on the link below this video. If you enjoyed this lesson, then you'll love Intrepid Italian, my series of online self-paced video courses that break down everything you need to know about Italian using my unique 80-20 method. More details in the description below. And if you enjoyed this lesson, don't miss my lesson on the only way to become fluent in Italian. Just click right here. Plus, if you struggle to understand fast spoken Italian, make sure you watch this video right here. In the meantime, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on those notifications so you get an alert when I post more video lessons like this one. Un abbraccio. Ciao!